Good evening, everyone. It's now 6:30 and I call the regular meeting of the Victoria City Council to order. It's our tradition to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please invite you to stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we continue with our agenda this evening, we have one oath of office to administer. With that, I will now ask Alvin, Hebert, and the city clerk, Cindy Patnode, to step up to the front of the dais. This is when you would go.
Let them know. Thumbs up.
Display that proudly in the living room at home. Do I have that? I'm sure. I don't know where it is. Thank you, Cindy, and welcome, Councilmember Hebert.
Thank you.
We're so delighted to have you. All right, the first item on our agenda is announcements. Here they are. The City Council will meet from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Friday, March 5th for a strategic planning session. This meeting will take place at Charlson Meadows, 1601 Minnesota Highway 7 in Victoria. The City Council will be back in chambers for a workshop Monday, April 12th at 5 p.m. to discuss public finance and economic development tools. The city's financial advisor from Northland Securities will also present an overview of the city's Economic Development Authority. The City Council will be conducting interviews for citizen advisory committees on March 8th at 5 p.m. Annually, the city recruits residents to serve on various citizen advisory boards. We have 4 openings on our Planning Commission. We have 4 openings on our Park and Recreation Committee, 3 regular members and 1 student member, and we have 5 openings on our new senior committee. We invite any resident who's interested in serving on one of the committees or commissions to apply. Applications are being accepted through tomorrow, February 23rd. Also, at the March 8th workshop, Council will discuss City Code proposed changes. You can find more information about each committee on the city's website or by contacting City Clerk Cindy Patnode. And all City Council meetings are open to the public and held in the council chambers at City Hall unless otherwise noted. There are no proclamations this evening, so we'll be moving on to the open forum. The open forum is an opportunity for anyone to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda and not in application form and will be coming to the council at a future date. We have 2 individuals registered in advance to speak at open forum, Ms. Katie Schaumann from Southern Valley Alliance and Ms. Ann Frischmann. Ms. Schaumann, we invite you to speak first. Please step up to the podium and give your name and address for the record. Did I say your name correctly?
It is Schaumann.
Schaumann.
So very close, yeah, German.
Very German. I should know better. I'm German myself.
So Katie Schaumann. I don't reside in Victoria. Do you still want my address?
Why don't you, do you have an address for Southern Valley Alliance?
Yeah,
Why don't you
I
get
do.
that one?
It is 551 East Park Street, and that's Belle Plaine, Minnesota.
Thank you.
So thank you all so much for having me this evening. I'm the new Community Engagement Coordinator for Southern Valley Alliance in Belle Plaine, Minnesota. We are a nonprofit organization that provides services and support for victims of domestic violence, serving all of Scott and Carver counties. I do want to give a quick content warning. I will share some information that may be difficult for some of the folks in this room and some viewing online to hear. So please be aware and take care of yourself and practice some self-care after I present. We are a prevention and solution-focused organization, and we partner with local law enforcement, county legal systems, social services, and healthcare providers to make the communities of Scott and Carver County a better, safer place to live. Our mission is to assist all victim survivors and end domestic violence in our local community. I'm honored to be with you tonight to share about the importance of recognizing and standing up for victim survivors within our community, and to share about the critical work that we are doing here in your own backyard. I've been part of this wonderful organization for 6 short months, but Southern Valley Alliance has been serving your community for the past 39 years. Maxine Kruschke founded Southern Valley Alliance for Battered Women in 1982 after leaving a 32-year marriage where she herself was a survivor of domestic violence. Since then, we've been able to serve over 21,000 men, women, and children in Scott and Carver counties as they try to live a healthy, violence-free life. We recognize that not all domestic violence victims are women, and in 2020 changed our name to Southern Valley Alliance to express our commitment to serving survivors of all genders. We recognize the unique challenges men face in seeking help and are here to support all survivors. Did you know that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in the United States have experienced some form of domestic violence in their lifetime? In the state of Minnesota alone, over 65,000 individuals reach out and receive domestic violence services from programs every year. We'd like to think that it doesn't happen in our community, but the truth is that domestic violence happens everywhere. Southern Valley Alliance is the sole provider of domestic violence services in Scott and Carver counties, and we assist over 1,500 victim survivors every year. Last year alone, we were able to provide services for 255 individuals in Carver County, and over the existence of Southern Valley Alliance, we have served 246 victim survivors right here in Victoria. Our programs and services include a 24/7 confidential crisis line, crisis intervention and advocacy, safe housing partnerships. Unfortunately, there is no shelter in Scott or Carver County. So we partner with Minnesota's Day One agencies to provide shelters for victims who are leaving quickly, and we can also provide emergency hotel stays. We offer support groups. We have a children's visitation center in our building, which provides supervised visits for non-custodial parents and their children, and then community engagement and education. While Southern Valley Alliance assists all victims of domestic abuse, it's important to highlight the prevalence and impact of dating violence on teens, especially during the month of February, as February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and share during the month of February. 1 in 10 high school students has experienced some form of physical violence within the past year. So me coming and raising awareness with you is huge for our community. You can continue to help us raise awareness by following us, sharing our posts, spreading the word, raising awareness. Through increasing awareness, training, and building relationships, we can empower victims, educate our youth, inform our neighbors, and partner with agencies invested in the safety and well-being of our community. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Schaumann. We appreciate it. Any
Yeah.
questions from council?
Yeah, I would just ask, how do you work with your cities? How can, if we wanted to get more information on how you work, when I go to partners, it talks about criminal justice intervention partners, talks about the police departments, sheriff's departments for the cities. We don't have a police department, so how can we as Victoria kind of help you guys if we needed to, or if we decided to go down that path?
Definitely. That's a great question, and I think one of the best ways is continuing to raise awareness. Having our resources available to all of the individuals that reside here in Victoria. And I think that's a conversation that we'd love to invite all of you to come down to our office and continue further so we can brainstorm other ways that we can get the citizens and city of Victoria involved in ending domestic violence here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a question. The Day One shelter, where is that?
So Minnesota Day One is a collaboration of all of the shelters throughout the state of Minnesota.
What's the closest one here?
The closest one, there is one That's a really good question to hear. Eden Prairie, I think.
Really?
Yep. And unfortunately, because of COVID, the majority of the shelters have been full for the past year. We've recently had to use resources to get somebody to the nearest shelter that had a vacancy, which was in Duluth. So it's definitely a struggle for us, doing the best that we can to provide emergency shelter.
So is lack of a shelter in Scott and Carver County, is that a gap in your services
Huge
today?
gap.
Is that something that you're trying to solve? What's the
We've been
outlook
trying.
for that?
Yeah, we've been trying, and unfortunately, the biggest things we keep running into are from the counties. Just hitting roadblock after roadblock from the counties, so continuing to push forward, and the more city and community relationships that we can build will help us in the future, so.
Do you work with Carver County Development Authority in helping place people?
CDA.
The Carver
Yes.
County CDA helps place people in transitional housing, which I would assume that this may qualify under. So I'm curious, if the close ones in Eden Prairie, are you going to the CDA first to say, hey, we've got somebody, or is that still not fast enough if it's a weekend?
That's a great question. I personally don't know for sure. Our advocates would have better answers. I think for an emergency situation, getting them a hotel stay is usually fastest, especially on the weekends. But that's all I personally can speak to, since I'm not one of our advocates.
Other questions, council? Thank you for your good work. Thank you for your
Yes.
presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Frischmann, thank you for being here.
Mayor, do you mind if I clean the podium?
Yep, go ahead.
Gotta sterilize.
We'll take a minute here while she does that.
So that's a little project for Uderman.
Interesting, huh?
I can
Thank
tell
you.
I-
Ms. Frischmann, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Step up to that nice, clean podium. and
Right, it
Give us
is.
your name and address for the
Do I get to
record.
take my, can I keep my mask
Yes,
off?
please,
There you go.
please.
Thank you.
Helps us hear better.
Ann Frischmann, 8400 Gallery Parkway. I've been a resident of Victoria for going on 12 years with my husband, and we have a third grader at Victoria Elementary. And I am here tonight representing Team 112 and to introduce you to who we are and what we do. We are a group of parents and teachers and community members who live and work in District 112. We are not a political group because education should not be political, and we are not sponsored by District 112. We are just a group of residents who believe in healthy public schools lead to healthy communities, and our mission is to improve the communication and the connection between the district and the administrators between our community members. Our goal is to supplement the great work that the district is doing and the PTOs are doing to ensure that all stakeholders are informed and connected in order to support and advocate for our school districts. So think of us as a community PTO. My involvement came around the referendum time. I was co-president of the Victoria Elementary PTO for a couple years and got involved that way, and just have continued my work because there seemed to be a disconnect between communication with communities for people who don't have kids in school. They don't understand what's going on in the schools, and they only hear certain things. So our purpose is to come to city council meetings, to come to districts meetings and school board meetings, just to kind of advocate on behalf of what the schools are doing and the programs that they are running on behalf of our learners. We are going to be starting to do some hosted community connection events every month. That's going to be a different topic to kind of, again, help educate and increase awareness to our community and what's going on in our public schools, to get the information out there of what truly is happening in behind the walls. And our first Zoom event is going to be tomorrow night, and Dee Dee Caring, who is the Director of Finance, is going to go through Finance 101. So basically demystifying public education, budgeting, and funding, which is a big, big topic. So we want to encourage our community to check out our website. It's team112.org, and all the information about what we're going to be doing, these webinars that we're going to be hosting on a monthly basis, and also what's going on with the districts and with our teachers and our students. will all be listed there. So we welcome everybody to come and be a part of it and to really advocate on behalf of our public school and our learners. So thank you for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you.
Thank you, Ms. Frischmann. Questions for Ms. Frischmann?
No, I just wanted to thank her for taking the time to come up and talk with us and being able to give information to the general public is good, because there was a lot of miscommunication
Yep.
a few years back. So awareness and education is probably the best way to handle that. So thank you for doing it.
You're welcome. Thank
And
you.
website team112.org.
Yes, correct.
Yes, terrific.
Great.
Great, thank you so much for
Appreciate
being
it.
here.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is to adopt the final agenda. Council, is there a motion to adopt the final agenda?
I make a motion to adopt the final agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Was it Gunderson? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Items on the consent agenda are routine, administrative, and do not require deliberation or are housekeeping items required by law. Consent agenda items are approved with one vote unless someone requests an item to be considered separately. Ms. Hardy, does staff have anything to pull from the consent agenda?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Council, any items from council?
No.
No.
Seeing none, anyone in the audience who is interested in pulling something from the consent agenda? Seeing none, council, may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt consent agenda.
Thank you, Councilmember Roberts. Second?
Second?
Thank you, Councilmember Black. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now on to the regular agenda. The first item is item number seven, an update and summary of our first 10-year implementation plan for addressing emerald ash borer. Our Park and Rec Director, Ann Monkey, is here virtually, and a contractor who is participating virtually as well. So we welcome them. They can be seen on the screen. Ms. Monkey, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This evening, I just wanted to give a quick update on our first year, or technically our second year, but first year of the treatment program for the emerald ash borer. The emerald ash borer was actually first discovered in Minnesota in 2009. And since that time, it has been creeping slowly across the state. So in 2019, the city authorized a public tree inventory of boulevard trees and park trees. And then after that process was done, we have contracted with Rainbow Tree Care to begin the injection treatment of and also the removal of some of the ash trees. So this evening, Jeff Hafner, who is our consultant from Rainbow Tree Care, is going to provide a little update on our first year of activity and what we have planned for this coming year. So with that, Jeff, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ann. As she mentioned, my name is Jeff Hafner with Rainbow Tree Care. I'm happy to be here with everyone. And I have a short presentation. I'm going to share it, and hopefully everyone can see it. Are we looking good?
Yes.
Excellent. I know my microphone works because I did a pre-meeting test with Ann that I think everybody got to hear. So that's good that the sound works. As I mentioned, I'm happy to be here, recap the first year of an Emerald Ash Borer program that we're doing in conjunction with the City of Victoria. So I'll talk a little bit about trees, tree benefits, and the results of tree protection. So I was in council chambers maybe 18 months ago and talked about tree benefits extensively. So I'll skip through that with just a quick nod to the many benefits that mature trees provide in our community. And you can see the list there. All of that is done really just by a tree standing there and looking good. And as the last bullet mentions, they're also very popular with people. It's very hard to find a room full of people who dislike trees. So because they're popular and they provide benefits, they're in a very sweet spot when it comes to infrastructure, members of our community. As Ann mentioned, emerald ash borer has been moving west this year in particular, or I should say the end of 2020. There was a significant uptick in the number of infested trees found east of Victoria. So each one of these little green plus signs is a confirmed infested tree. The biggest kind of cluster is within Eden Prairie, with this westernmost infestation being confirmed just on the eastern border of Chanhassen. So this green line around each infested tree is roughly a 2-mile buffer that the Minnesota Department of Agriculture adds to their map to say, while we know each individual infested tree is known to be infested, within 2 miles of that tree it's likely generally infested. So I included that green line as well as the border of Victoria to just show how much it's kind of encroaching. And as we kind of zoom in to the next level, I just did a quick measurement. Those infested confirmed trees in Chanhassen are roughly within 5 miles of the easternmost border of the city of Victoria. So the good news is the city elected to begin protecting trees in 2020, which puts the city in a great position for that encroaching infestation. You may remember the last time I was here, I discussed the tree inventory that the city embarked upon, and on the map there you can see all of the public ash trees that we found growing on the right-of-way or on city property. So emerald ash borer attacks all unprotected ash trees, so that's just the map showing the 3 different species of ash trees that were found on public lands in the city. So there were 931 of them. We gave each tree a condition rating. It was around 10,000 diameter inches. So we measure the trees at 4.5 feet above the ground across the trunk. So an 11-inch average throughout that entire population. And I apologize, I won't be able to see anyone raising their hand if they have questions. I am happy to answer them as we go, or just wait till the end since I'm kind of flying blind. So I hope you can remember all your questions until the end. After doing that initial tree inventory, we at Rainbow Tree Care worked with staff to determine where the first round of treatments should take place, and I added red dots on top of each public ash tree that was protected in 2020. So of the 696 that we determined to be high quality, we injected 414 of them. And there you can see the kind of disbursement throughout the city. We didn't know that the closest known infestation would be encroaching from the eastern side. It does kind of make sense because that's where the known infestations were at the time. But spreading the treatments out across the entire population helps kill any insects that might be there. So while we know that's a known infestation, it's still likely or possible that EAB currently is in Victoria. So spreading out north to south and predominantly on the east with some moving to the west just looks good in hindsight, but it was determined just by the number of inches we were trying to protect. So that was the public trees. As part of this program, you may remember too, we offered discounted ash injection pricing for Victoria residents. So if they elected to protect private trees, they would get a discounted price as part of the city's bulk program. And in green, I added all of the protected private trees that we injected in 2020. So 115 of those private trees there you can see on the map. And again, a pretty good distribution north to south and east to west with some clusters that are likely commercial sites or maybe a homeowners association. So then I put all of that map data onto one slide so you can see the confirmed emerald ash borer infestations plus that 2-mile generally infested buffer, and then all of the protected public and private trees within the city of Victoria. And I share this slide in the hopes that there is a sense of relief in that while EAB continues to creep closer, That level of protection on both public and private trees is going to do a lot of work to preserve those valuable tree benefits, both on the public and private side. Regardless of where these trees are protected, they will kill insects if they start to move in, so they provide the benefit to both public and private trees. So then I created a table of the trees we had protected over the last 3 years. Injected trees are protected for 2 years against emerald ash borer. So the 2018 numbers and the 2019 numbers were before the program started, and I just included them to show how much of a difference the program really makes as far as both public trees being treated, but also that private participation. And there you can see the 115 private trees that were protected in 2020 for a total of 529. Now, 529 is a great number. As I mentioned on the map, you can see a high level of protection. But in addition, I look at how many trees are protected per capita. So I use 1,000 residents just to get rid of any decimals. And then I compare that to the other 29 EAB programs that we have similarly to what Victoria is doing. And Victoria's treatment per capita is far and away the most we saw in 2020, both, or I should say, driven largely by those public trees being treated, but then even combined with the private trees, the combination of that is that within Victoria in 2020, 50 trees were protected for every 1,000 residents. So hopefully that helps contribute to that overall sense of relief, in that the level of protection on trees, public and private, is very strong, which is going to help keep emerald ash borers of negative effects from really taking hold. So as I mentioned the tree benefits before, if we look at the 529 trees that were protected, both public and private, that's almost 7,700 inches of trunk diameter. Remember, we measure trees 4.5 feet off the ground. We measure across the trunk. So that cumulative total of inches protected on 14.5-inch average starts to yield some pretty significant tree benefits when you combine all of that tree value together. And I pull out just the two biggest benefits. I mean, I think they're the biggest because they're where communities really feel the difference when those trees are gone, but also these are the biggest numbers of tree benefits per tree. But those 529 protected trees in 2020 will remove 409,000 pounds of carbon from the atmosphere in a single year. In addition, they'll also intercept 900,000 gallons of stormwater. And those benefits are annual, even though the treatments are every other year. So those protected trees will yield those benefits again in 2021. So pretty significant difference on the positive side, but also if emerald ash borer were to kill those trees and they would need to be removed, that would be pretty negatively felt throughout the community. I'm also able to just quickly talk about how Victoria residents reached us to communicate with us their desire to participate in this program. Now, I'm the arborist on the team. There is a marketing specialist that also presents with me, but tonight you'll just have to deal with the arborist talking marketing and communication. So of the 30 partnerships that we have, we create a landing page for each one, yielding about 4,700 sessions. The Victoria page in particular yielded 88 sessions, and 88% of them were new. 23 of those individuals filled out lead forms. Now we share this information just in like the interest of full disclosure about what we bring to the program and how we support the city's efforts in communicating this message. So 50 people found us directly, and we assume they keyed in the URL to the landing page because of a postcard. Every program gets a city-specific postcard. There was one organic search. City referral sent 25, so that's 25 residents that first visited the city's EAB webpage and then jumped from that to our landing page. So those two combined for the biggest chunk of people finding us, which really supports, us working together is yielding great results. Between our postcard and the city communication via their website is really sending a lot of people the information they need to take the action they need to meet their goals. There's a picture of the postcard. Hopefully it's not new to anybody because everybody should have gotten one. There was a strong emphasis on the urgency to act now, as well as focusing on the URL versus the phone number, just because we believe more people are inclined to follow us and find us through a web link versus actually using the phone. Here's just some of the digital outreach that we did, and then in addition to that, just a couple snapshots of what the city communication team shared to their residents, and hopefully you all have followed the city and see this information as well. So just a quick recap to really sum it all up. There was a whole lot of disruption and uncertainty when the EAB treatment season began, and for a first-year program, we weren't sure what impacts that uncertainty would really have on the program, and we were very excited and relieved to see that even with all that uncertainty and those disruptions, the trees were still important to the people that live in Victoria. We know that the digital communication connected really well with residents, and we will continue to do that and continue to look for ways to coordinate with the city communications team to keep this messaging out there. We believe there are still a lot of ash trees that people haven't made a decision. And that's kind of what this slide just kind of sums up. We know there are a lot of ash trees out there, and we're going to continue to find ways to partner, because we know that the more we communicate together, the more we support each other's messaging, the more it's going to reach a broader audience and give them the tools they need to meet their goals. So with that, I'll just give a quick thanks. We know that trees are very important to us, and we couldn't be making the big difference that we get to make without the city as a really valued partner. So I thank you for that, and we look forward to another great year. And I'm happy to take any questions. On my screen, I can see like a repeating of all the little screens because I think I'm the host. Is that what you were all seeing there too?
Yeah, we were able to view your presentation just fine, Mr. Hafner. Thank you for
Okay,
that.
good.
I have a question for you. When you came out to treat the trees in Victoria, do you guys inspect those as you treat them?
Yes, we inspect them both at the time we offer a price for treatment, and then again as they are getting injected. So it's really a two-step inspection process.
Okay, terrific, thank you. When you selected the trees to treat, the public trees, what was the methodology you used to do that?
Well, we worked with staff to determine the trees that were most valuable, and then worked within the budget to sum up a number of inches that stayed within that budget and protected the highest quality trees first.
Terrific. Council, other questions?
This is Councilman Roberts. So I actually watched your presentation as well during the Park and Rec Committee meeting. And so I think one of the members asked if I think it was based off of the map that you showed of the infestation, I guess, coming, farther west, if Chanhassen and Eden Prairie weren't doing any of these things, and you indicated that they were. So I was just curious, so are we more out ahead of this than those other communities, and is that why we're seeing that infestation coming, through them harder, or I mean, is it gonna happen here? I mean, I guess no matter what. So I got.
Yes, it is going to happen no matter what. And both those cities to the east have had pretty robust programs for a number of years. And what I can speculate is that their efforts have slowed the progression into Victoria. While it is encroaching now, it's encroaching later than we would have expected. As Ann mentioned, EAB was found in 2009. 20 years ago, when EAB was found in Chicago, by 10 years, the ring of destruction had extended for dozens and dozens of miles from the original epicenter. And we haven't seen that move as quickly in Minnesota, and we believe it's because of the efforts of these city programs and city protection of public trees that has slowed the spread. What I can say about the Eden Prairie infestation in particular is that the explosion is largely on larger commercial and industrial sites where tree ownership is difficult, and while those tree benefits aren't quite as realized. So tree protection hadn't been kind of adopted as vigorously as we see on the residential side in Eden Prairie. And even down to that kind of neighborhood level, city staff is reporting that it's really clear that the infestation is not spreading in residential neighborhoods as quickly as it spread in those industrial neighborhoods where treatment wasn't incorporated. So I hope I answered all of that. It will happen anyway, but because of these efforts, it's going to happen more slowly.
Okay. And then, and I apologize if you answered this in the presentation and I just completely missed it, but so basically is the next step this year like targeting more those private owned trees and getting the word out just more so those get taken care of?
Well, that is always a big component because those are the trees the city can't directly impact, but I'll continue to work with Ann and protect the rest of the high quality public trees within the budget, and then yes, heavily and robustly communicate to those residents. And Ann, if you have anything you'd like to add there.
Yeah, sure. Jeff and I had talked earlier in the year about really trying to focus and get into those like homeowner associations and trying to find avenues that we can provide more communication and education to them, as well as business owners within the community too. So that will be one of our pushes this year.
Thank you, Ann.
Great, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Councilmember Black?
Yeah, I do have a question. I was under the impression that these treatments protected the trees from the emerald ash borer. What you're saying is that it's just slowing it down? Is that true?
The treatments do protect those individual trees, yes.
Okay.
However, there are so many unprotected trees within those environments that the pests are still allowed to feed and reproduce. But those protected trees will not be attacked and killed. And that's one of the reasons why treatment does slow it down, because as adult insects fly out of the non-protected and attacked trees, they can feed on the protected trees, and then their life cycle is interrupted as they're killed. So those protected trees have like a small halo effect around them as non-protected tree insects feed on them. But those, yes, I don't want to leave anyone confused. Those protected trees are absolutely protected and will not be killed.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Black, anything else?
No, that was the big concern when he said, well, it's still coming. I was like, what? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Black, too, just so you know, I mean, we have a lot of outlots, around wetland areas that, just the sheer number of them, the city couldn't afford to go in and count and inject all of those trees. So we're really trying to focus on those areas within the city parks and boulevard areas, and then also encouraging residents to, treat their trees so we can at least maintain somewhat of a forest. But we will be dealing with dead ash trees within some outlot areas and private areas. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Council, other questions?
Just as someone who has two ash trees in the 55 to 60 foot range, certainly a program I'm going to be looking into moving into the summer. But in those neighborhoods, my neighborhood, some of the older in Victoria, those seem to me that we would be able to do specific neighborhood targeting versus trying to hit some of the newer developments that we have. Have we thought about just going door to door? I hate saying door to door, but we thought about just door knocking some of these older neighborhoods to say, hey, we've identified that you have an ash tree. Here's information. We really hope you take advantage of it, and just leave it at that. Because last year I probably was paying attention, but I probably wasn't. I think like a lot of people trying to get through what 2020 was. But I'm pretty proud of my ash trees, so I want to make sure they're around. And I know a lot of the other older neighborhoods are proud of their older trees as well. So I think if we come up with a program, is there something that works? Because just sending the mass mailer is great. It's a good informational piece, but I think something a little more targeted would be warranted. I don't know whose question that is, so I'm sorry.
I think, I know that we've tried all the different avenues that we have available to us to let residents know that this is an important program, you can get it discounted.
I mean,
Again,
what else can we do?
Yeah.
Just keep reminding them.
And, you know, Councilmember Gunderson, considering you're in those neighborhoods, go ahead and knock your neighbors.
I probably will, because, you know, when they,
Maybe a Boy Scout deal.
the only thing rough with ash trees is that when they do break. And so I guess the question is when they shed, mine are shedding, mine shed every year. I mean, they come down, the tops come down and break. Are those particular trees at that age more susceptible to the ash borer as they start to shed some of the higher growth?
They're not more susceptible, but
Are as
I would say stressed trees are the most susceptible to insect attack generally. But older trees are not more susceptible to insect attack than younger trees. They are more valuable though, so their loss is felt at a greater level. So they are definitely more worthy of protection than something that is smaller and easy to replace. So I would encourage you to, yes, consider protecting your
Watch your
big, beautiful
mailbox
ash
for you.
trees.
Trust me, it's a conversation with my wife already.
Councilmember Hebert, anything from you? All right, terrific, thank you. And you're not looking for anything from us tonight, it's just an update, is that correct?
Correct, nothing tonight, but on the next council meeting, I will be asking for a second year payment through the program for EAB treatment, so nothing tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Monkey, we appreciate it. And I know that we have prioritized that treatment in our budget for this year as well, so we will be back with that next time. Moving on, we will now move on. Thank you, Ms. Monkey. Thank you, Mr. Hafner. We will move on to item 7.2, an update on the South Area Utility Extension Project. Presenting this evening is Ms. Hardy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. City Engineer Kara Guerin could not be with us this evening, and so you're stuck with Team B. We had to prepare this a little bit on the fly as she had an emergency to attend to. So bear with me as we go through here this evening. This evening, we're talking about our South Area Utility Extension Project. We started talking about this project back in 2018. The utilities are needed as we continue to grow and develop. And as we grow and develop, our current sanitary, sewer, and water systems are not in a position to support as much growth that's coming. And so this project is necessary in order for us to continue to grow as a community into our south and west growth areas. So what we're looking at here this evening is not to actually approve any bids or specifications or projects specifically, as that will be a next step. But what we're doing is coming back to you with a design, asking you to approve or authorize design. And you've already done that in 2018. And what's happened since that time is we've now completed Marsh Lake Road. We now have gone through a corridor study for County Road 11, so we know where the rights-of-way are going to be in those areas. And we had some conversations in 2019 as a result of our budget discussions to try to locate the lift station in a place that would not create dependencies on property owners for one property owner to develop before another one might be ready. And so we did that work, and now we were able to, from a high level view, say, yep, this seems like it's going to work. We're going to move that lift station. And because we've now moved that lift station north from where it was previously located, that means the pipe realignment and the work that we've done leading up to our 80% design plans just needs to be modified. And so we're bringing a scope change to you so we can do those, have our SRF Consulting, who's done the work for us up to this point, go ahead and do that redesign with that new information, moving the lift station north, doing the realignment for that, taking that into consideration, and trying to have less of an impact on some of the private parcels from where that realignment will end up ultimately. The next step then would be to come back to you with greater detail, more information, and have you authorize bid and specifications. So we do have, as you know, you've seen some sketch plats for the Rolling Hills property, and so for that to come to fruition, city water and sewer services would need to be extended. So we would have to finalize the design through this process, which will allow us to develop those bid specifications to actually have a construction project move forward concurrent with development. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Terrific. Well, I think our B team is better than most A teams. All right, council, questions for Ms. Hardy? Yes.
Is there, this is Councilman Hebert, is there a timing issue that we need to better understand in terms of why now, if not now, what impact does that happen to the project?
Yes, thank you. Good question, Councilmember Hebert and council members, Madam Mayor. There is a timing issue, and so we have always said from kind of the beginning of this project that it would be in the city's best interest to do this when development was imminent. So development is now looking imminent, which means that in order for us to really take advantage of the developer's timeline, that it would be in our best interest to move concurrently with this project. That would be the most cost-efficient way for us to get the water and sewer services functional and in the ground and ready to go when the development's ready.
Anything else? Councilmember?
I just wanted to make sure I heard you right. You said you're going to lessen the impact to landowners and help create more efficiencies in a public project.
That is correct.
Can't argue with that.
No.
Council, anything else?
No, I watched this when we were talking about over by the railroad tracks and what we were going to have to do and then trying to find water and all this. And when I saw the developers coming and this alternative idea, I was like, yes, this, I think we need to go with it because it is a better deal for everyone involved, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have any questions. It's, like I said, it's important to move, forward, and we don't want to be delayed by, other property owners not ready to develop, right? Have their land developed. So,
and it gets us that much closer to 10.
It's a march. It's a steady march. All
They've
right.
been wanting to be down there for years.
Seeing no more discussion, let's have a motion.
Motion to authorize staff to engage SRF Consulting Group, Inc. to redesign the South Area Street and Utility Extension Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That will move us on to the roundtable portion of our agenda. The roundtable is a means for council members to gain input from fellow members on items they'd like staff to explore. Ms. Hardy, any items from staff for the roundtable?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any council members? Councilmember Roberts? Councilmember Black? Councilmember Gunderson?
I do have a question more related to this roundtable.
Yeah.
Is this a place where we can ask for updates too in subsequent meetings? So if we've talked about something, let me just say 82nd Street, we've talked about that before. We've had it come before us. Is it a place for us to say, where are we at with that? Has anybody had conversations? Is that, and I'm probably asking Bob, is that legal? And to Dana's point, is this?
Is that part of the roundtable?
Can it be? And I'm not, and it doesn't have to be tonight. I'm just trying to get my footing on how to be a councilman. So is that?
We appreciate those questions, yes.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, the answer is certainly yes. I think the question you're asking is it okay to talk about or get a report about something that's not specifically on the agenda? Very common for cities to have items like you have at the end of your agenda about reports from staff, which can be on sort of anything staff has to report on. And roundtable, I think, is an open invitation to council members to ask or talk about items that aren't specifically listed. And that's all fine. The limitation on that, and it's a good question, the limitation on that would be if you're going to actually make a decision on an item and that item has some public interest to it. I mean, obviously, adding to the agenda, paying a bill or some ministerial act like that is just fine, but something where the public's going to want to have input and you're going to make a decision on it, we really ought to have that on the agenda. So, but the answer to your question is sure, you can always ask questions of staff and staff can always answer those questions.
Thank you.
Gunderson?
No, I'm good. I just wanted to make sure that we're going to start talking about things where they may not be in the agenda, but they'll be in the back of our mind. So.
Councilmember Hebert?
No items.
Terrific. Thank you. Again, welcome. We're happy to have you here. All right, next we're moving on to reports. Attorney Vos, anything from you?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I guess I give a very brief report on some correspondence that I received. Staff hasn't had a chance to really chew on it yet, but the backstory on the correspondence is at least a couple of council members from the prior council will recall that we received a letter from Housing First. Housing First is an advocacy group that represents developers around Minnesota. And they have been monitoring all over the metro area building permit fees. And in communities where they have any concerns, they sent out a letter. We received one of those letters about building permit fee setting and the amount of revenue that we've received over a period of time relative to what they understand our costs to be. So we received a communication about that. It was a concerning sort of letter. Council talked about it, directed me to respond, which I did going on about 2 months ago. They now today have responded to us, and I think it's generally, I would characterize it, again, we haven't had a chance to talk about it among staff, but I'd characterize it as a positive, I think, development. In my correspondence to them, I had said, gee, it appears there's an issue here. We're willing to talk to you about it. We need to know more about your view. We don't fully understand your view, but we're willing to talk about it. And they are essentially, I think, accepting that invitation and asking to have some more dialogue about our building permit fee amounts and what they think we should do about it. So wanted to bring that to the attention of new council members and then just let you know that correspondence was received.
Terrific. Thank you, Attorney Vos. Anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Ms. Hardy, anything from staff?
None from staff, Madam
All
Mayor.
right. Councilmember Roberts? Councilmember Black?
I'm good tonight.
Councilmember Gunderson? And Councilmember Hebert?
Nothing further.
Terrific. With that, members of the council, there is nothing more to come before the body this evening. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
And a second?
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.